Hello, my name is Nabil Ansari and I teach Spanish in the Center of Spanish, Portuguese, Italian and Latin American Studies in Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. We're in the paper entitled Spanish Grammar 1. In this module entitled Hablamos de expresiones, you are going to learn about some useful expressions used in our day-to-day lives. Like in English, Spanish has also some idiomatic expressions. These are a set of words whose meaning is not derived from individual words but rather when used together. For example, the expression for to miss someone in Spanish is echar de menos. While echar de menos will not make sense initially to someone who is not familiar with its meaning as an expression because echar is a verb which means to throw and menos means less. Thus, if someone tries to take its literal meaning, then it will be to throw less. Now, the meaning of these kinds of expressions can be used only when taken together. Thus, when someone says tengo suerte in Spanish, that person doesn't mean that he has luck, because tengo means to have and suerte is luck, will be its literal meaning. But what he or she means in reality when the person says tengo suerte, he or she means I am lucky. There are also other verbs which are used with prepositions. These expressions are used to express oneself not only correctly but also naturally in Spanish. Now listen to the audio about a student named Adil who is very excited as he is finally going to Spain. Let's listen what he is going to do there. Hola Adil, ¿estás ocupado?
Sí, hora de empacar porque voy de vacaciones.
¡Qué bien! ¿A dónde vas?
Voy al extranjero, a España. Es mi sueño conocer los lugares famosos de España.
¿Cuánto cuesta el billete de ida y vuelta?
No es muy caro, cuesta solo 42,000 rupias.
¿Es un vuelo sin escala?
¿No tiene escala en Ámsterdam?
Vale, ¿qué vas a hacer en España? ¿Ya tienes algún plan?
Me gustan las playas, así primero voy a Barcelona. Dicen que tiene una playa preciosa. Voy a la playa todos los días. También quiero hacer otras actividades como ir de excursión e ir de camping.
Suena muy bien. ¿Vas de compras también?
Creo que sí. Voy de compras antes de volver a la India. Voy a visitar unos centros comerciales. Quiero comprar muchas cosas de Zara porque es una marca muy famosa.
Buen viaje, chico. Nos vemos pronto. There are some useful expressions used with the verb ir. Let's quickly revise the verb ir, which means to go. The conjugation of the verb ir is yo voy, tú vas, él, ella, usted va, nosotros, nosotras vamos, vosotros, vosotras vais, ellos, ellas, ustedes van. Now, ir, this verb is used with the preposition a or de. Now pay attention to the highlighted section of the dialogue. Can you guess its meaning? Look at the pictures given below for clues. Ir de vacaciones. Ir al extranjero. Ir de excursión. Ir de camping. And ir de compras. The meanings of these expressions are given below. Ir de vacaciones is to go on vacation. Ir al extranjero is to go abroad. Ir de excursión is to go on excursion. Ir de camping is to go camping. And ir de compras is to go shopping. Now let's see some examples with these expressions. First one is ir de vacaciones. Example: hoy es el último día de la oficina. Voy de vacaciones mañana con mi mujer. Which means, today is the last day in the office. I am going on vacation tomorrow with my wife. Second expression is ir al extranjero, which means to go abroad. For example, voy al extranjero muy a menudo, which means I go abroad very often. Third expression which we have seen is ir de excursión. Ir de excursión means to go on excursion. An example is me gusta ir de excursión durante las vacaciones, which means I like going on excursion during my vacations. Ir de camping. This expression ir de camping means to go camping. Example: ¿Quieres ir de camping con nosotros? Which means, do you want to go camping with us? And last one is ir de compras. Ir de compras means to go shopping. For example, ella va de compras en su tiempo libre, which means she goes shopping in her free time. Not only with the verb ir, but also there are expressions with other verbs also. Now let's listen to another conversation between two friends named Pepe and Rafael.
Hola Rafa, ¿por qué has cerrado las ventanas?
Porque tengo frío y hace viento fuera.
¿Qué dices? Yo tengo calor, no puedo estar en tu cuarto.
Vale, si quieres, entonces puedes abrir las ventanas un poco.
Bueno, ¿estás estudiando ahora?
Sí, es que tengo examen pasado mañana.
¿No tienes hambre? Ya son las 10 de la noche.
No, no tengo tanta hambre. Acabo de comer una manzana y 3 plátanos. ¿Vas a comer tú?
Por supuesto, tengo hambre y también tengo sed.
¿Dónde vas a comer?
Voy a comer fuera. No me apetece cocinar ya que estoy muy cansado. ¿A qué hora duermes hoy?
Duermo pronto porque ya tengo sueño.
Hasta pronto.
In the conversation between Pepe and Rafael, there are some expressions used with the verb tener, which expresses physical sensations. In order to understand them better, let's quickly revise the verb tener, which means to have. The verb tener, the conjugation is yo tengo, tú tienes, él, ella, usted tiene, nosotros, nosotras tenemos, vosotros, vosotras tenéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes tienen. I repeat, yo tengo, tú tienes, él, ella, usted tiene, nosotros, nosotras tenemos, vosotros, vosotras tenéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes tienen. The expressions used in the conversations are tener calor, tener frío, tener hambre, tener sed y tener sueño. Thus the verb tener means to have, but like the verb ir, the verb tener can have other meanings in Spanish, usually when used with an idiomatic expressions. Now the meaning of these expressions are: tener calor is to feel hot. For example, yo tengo calor, which means I am feeling hot. Tener frío means to feel cold. For example, ella tiene frío. She is feeling cold. Tener hambre means to be hungry. For example, nosotros tenemos hambre, which means we are hungry. Tener sed means to be thirsty. For example, ellos tienen sed. which means they are thirsty. And tener sueño means to be sleepy. For example, mi hermana tiene sueño, which means my sister is sleepy. Pepe and Rafael are talking about going to a jazz concert. Let's listen to their conversation. Hola amigo, ¿qué tal?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Bien, ¿sabes que el concierto de jazz tiene lugar mañana por la noche?
Ya lo sé, pero no tengo suerte, no tengo las entradas. Tengo celos porque sé que tú tienes 2 entradas.
Tienes razón, pero ¿quién tiene la culpa? ¿Por qué no la compraste conmigo? De todas formas, ¿quieres acompañarme?
Sí, ¿por qué no? Tengo ganas de ir.
Ok, ven a mi casa mañana a las 8 y salimos juntos. Ahora tengo que irme, tengo prisa. Es que mi hermana me está esperando en casa. ¿Vamos al cine hoy?
Ten cuidado, no conduzcas rápido. Nos vemos mañana.
Chao. The expressions used in the conversation are tener lugar, tener celos, tener razón, tener la culpa, tener ganas de y tener cuidado. Let's see some examples with these expressions. First one is tener lugar, which means to take place. For example, el concierto de jazz tiene lugar mañana por la noche, which means the jazz concert is taking place tomorrow night. Tener suerte means to be lucky. For example, yo no tengo suerte means I'm not lucky. Tener celos means to be jealous. For example, tengo celos porque sé que tú tienes 2 entradas, meaning I'm jealous because I know that you have got 2 tickets. Tener razón means to be right. For example, tienes razón, which means you are right. Tener la culpa, which means to be blamed for. For example, nadie tiene la culpa, which means nobody is to blame. Tener ganas de means to feel like. For example, no tengo ganas de estudiar, which means I don't feel like studying. Tener cuidado, which means to be careful. For example, ten cuidado, which means be careful. Now coming to another verb, which is dar. Dar means to give. There are idiomatic expressions used with the verb dar. Let's revise the verb dar first. The conjugation of the verb dar is yo doy, tú das, él, ella, usted da, nosotros, nosotras damos, vosotros, vosotras dais, ellos, ellas, ustedes dan. Yo doy, tú das, él, ella, usted da, nosotros, nosotras damos, vosotros, vosotras dais, ellos, ellas, ustedes dan. Now some expressions with dar are, for example, dar a luz, which means to give birth. For example, mi prima dio a luz mellizos. Dar a luz, to give birth. For example, mi prima dio a luz mellizos, which means my niece gave birth to twins. Dar gusto, which means to please. For example, da gusto trabajar en una oficina tan luminosa. For example, it's a pleasure to work in such a bright office. Dar un abrazo. Dar un abrazo means to embrace or to hug. For example, Me dio un abrazo muy fuerte, which means he gave me a big hug. Dar la hora, which means to tell the time. For example, me da la hora, which means can you tell me the time? Dar una mano, which means to lend a hand. For example, la bolsa es muy pesada. ¿Me das una mano? Which means the bag is very heavy. Would you lend me a hand? Dar asco. Dar asco means to disgust. For example, los perros me dan asco, which means dogs disgust me. Dar la bienvenida, which means to welcome. For example, queremos darles la bienvenida a los nuevos estudiantes de nuestra clase, which means we want to welcome the new students of our class. Dar las gracias. Dar las gracias means to thank. For example, solo quería darle las gracias, which means I only wanted to thank you. Dar un paseo, which means to take a walk or to go for a walk. For example, doy un paseo por la tarde, which means I go for a walk in the evening. Dar una vuelta, which means to take a stroll. For example, ellos tienen ganas de dar una vuelta por la ciudad, which means they feel like taking a stroll around the city. Darse la mano, which means to shake hands. For example, al terminar el partido, ustedes tienen que darse la mano, which means at the end of the match you have to shake hands. Darse prisa, which means to hurry. For example, tienes que darte prisa si quieres llegar a tiempo, which means you have to hurry if you want to make it on time. So these were the expressions used with the verb dar. I repeat the expressions: dar a luz, which means to give birth; dar gusto, which means to please; dar un abrazo, which means to embrace or to hug; dar la hora, which means to tell the time; dar una mano, which means to lend a hand; dar asco means to disgust; dar la bienvenida means to welcome; dar las gracias means to thank; dar un paseo means to take a walk or to go for a walk; dar una vuelta means to take a stroll; darse la mano means to shake hands; and darse prisa means to hurry. Now, there are also some idiomatic expressions with the verb estar. Now, before seeing the idiomatic expressions with the verb estar, let's quickly revise the conjugation of the verb estar. So, the conjugation of the verb estar is yo estoy, tú estás, él, ella, usted está, nosotros, nosotras estamos, vosotros, vosotras estáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes están. So I repeat: yo estoy, tú estás, él, ella, usted está, nosotros, nosotras estamos, vosotros, vosotras estáis, ellos, ellas, ustedes están. Now let's see some idiomatic expressions with the verb estar. We start with está despejado, which means it's clear. For example, el cielo está despejado ahora, which means the sky is now clear, or the sky is clear now. Está nublado, which means it's cloudy. For example, no vamos a caminar porque el día está muy nublado, which means we are not going to walk, we are not going for a walk because it is very cloudy. Estar de acuerdo, which means to be in agreement or to agree. For example, estoy de acuerdo contigo, which means I agree with you. Estar de buen humor, which means to be in a good mood. For example, mi padre está de buen humor hoy, which means my father is in a good mood today. And the opposite of estar de buen humor is estar de mal humor, which means to be in a bad mood. For example, no quiero ir a verlo porque siempre está de mal humor, which means I don't want to go to see him because he is always in a bad mood. Estar de pie. Estar de pie means to be standing. For example, ¿por qué estás de pie? Meaning, why are you standing? And estar de camino, which means to be on the way. For example, estoy de camino, which means I am on the way. So I repeat the idiomatic expressions that we have just seen with the verb estar are: está despejado, which means it's clear; está nublado, which means it's cloudy; estar de acuerdo, which means to agree; estar de buen humor, which means to be in a good mood; estar de mal humor, which means to be in a bad mood; estar de pie, which means to be standing; estar de camino, which means to be on the way. So these were the idiomatic expressions with the verb estar. Now the verb hacer, which means to make or to do, is also used for many idiomatic expressions. The conjugation of the verb hacer is yo hago, tú haces, él, ella, usted hace, nosotros, nosotras hacemos, vosotros, vosotras hacéis, ellos, ellas, ustedes hacen. I repeat, yo hago, tú haces, él, ella, usted hace, nosotros, nosotras hacemos, vosotros, vosotras hacéis, and ellos, ellas, ustedes hacen. You have learned some weather expressions with the verb hacer. I repeat, the expressions with the verb hacer are: hacer frío, which means to be cold; hacer calor, which means to be warm; hacer viento, which means to be windy; hacer buen tiempo, which means to be good weather; hacer mal tiempo means to be bad weather; and hacer fresco means to be cool, related with the weather. Apart from these expressions that you have already learned, there are other expressions with the verb hacer which we are going to see in this module. Some of them are hacer cola, which means to line up. For example, tenemos que hacer cola en la ventanilla 3, which means we have to line up in window 3. hacer daño, which means to harm, to damage or to hurt. For example, no te voy a hacer daño, which means I'm not going to hurt you. Hacer falta, which means to need to. For example, le hace falta descansar, which means he needs to rest. I repeat the expressions with the verb hacer related with the weather are hacer frío, which means to be cold, hacer calor, which means to be warm, hacer viento, which means to be windy, hacer buen tiempo, which means to be good weather, hacer mal tiempo means to be bad weather, hacer fresco means to be cool. Now other expressions with the verb hacer are hacer cola, which means to line up. Other expressions with the verb hacer are hacer cola, which means to line up, hacer daño, which means to harm, to damage or to hurt, hacer falta, which means to need to. Now these are the expressions with the verb hacer. Thus in this module you have learned some useful idiomatic expressions with the verb ir, with the verb tener, with the verb dar, with the verb estar, and last with the verb hacer. For other expressions, kindly see the e-text. Thank you.